welcome to AI Today, where we bring you all the latest news and biggest stories from the world of AI. Today I'm joined by Scott Likens, Global Chief AI Engineer at PwC, where he helps organisations harness emerging technologies to drive business reinvention. With 3 decades of technology expertise spanning Asia, Europe and the United States, Scott brings a unique global perspective to AI strategy and implementation. Thank you so much for your time today, Scott. Would you mind starting by giving us a brief overview of your role there at PwC?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's quite an interesting role, of course, with everything going on in AI today. I really focus on AI engineering, but both for our firm, so we're a global firm in 150 or so countries, enabling our people to use AI safely and responsibly, and then with our clients. So thinking about what we have to solve for ourselves, we bring those solutions to our clients and figure out the right engineering around this rapidly changing technology we call AI. So it's a pretty unique role.
Sounds great. And is it solely enterprise-sized clients that you work on, Scott?
As part of my job, I lead the research and development. So I do have the opportunity to work with the startups, the open source world. So that's really how we're understanding what's happening at the edge. But for us, we work with enterprise clients. We build things at scale for big clients around the world. But it is a kind of a balance of understanding what the startups are doing, what's happening in open source, of course, the hyperscalers and the technology companies, but then bringing that to life in the enterprise business. So it's a combination of both.
Got you. Yeah, that's really interesting. A man that's truly at the sort of bleeding edge of AI implementation.
As much as I can be. It's a little exhausting, but yes, I try and stay at the edge as much as possible.
I can imagine. It's such a hot topic, isn't it?
It is.
Okay, so as PwC's Chief AI Engineer, what are the most common misconceptions that enterprise leaders and wider business leaders have about implementing AI, and how do you help them to develop sort of more realistic expectations?
So I think in 2025, the biggest misconception is, where's the ROI? Why isn't it happening faster? And I like to remind executives, yes, AI has been around probably 7 decades from a research perspective, but generative AI, the one everyone's really thinking about, is barely 3 years old. And in the enterprise, more like 2 years, right? We really just saw it enter at the enterprise scale, maybe late 2023. So a lot of leaders are really looking at where's the return. And if you think about the pattern that we saw, the early wave was really about efficiencies. And, we were saving some time here or there, 8, 10, 12%. Those are hard to capture. I think 2025, though, we're seeing this pivot with the focus on return on investment. There's been more of a pivot around how does this really affect my business? Let's get past the efficiencies and the fun, exciting, things I can do with it, and reinvent portions of what we do. Can I change my revenue? And can I get to new markets? Can I create products faster? So the misconception is this is instant, it's magic. I turn on AI and my business changes. That's just not the reality. This is a human problem. We have to train a workforce. We have to change the way we interact with our customers, with our partners. It's a long journey, and we can't just expect immediate results. But that's not to say that there aren't value created already. And I think it's that balance of it's a long-term investment. We have to upskill a workforce, but we want to have some return early, and we've got to find those spots within our business to get that.
Got you. And just as a tag-on question to that, it's just come to my mind actually. Is with your consultancy hat on, is there ever an instance where you don't recommend implementing AI because it won't generate an ROI, or are you the guy that's drafted in when that decision has been made?
Oh, honestly, all the time. I say it's math, not magic. It only solves, especially Gen AI, it only solves certain patterns really well. And there's good old AI, machine learning and the predictive nature of AI that we've been using for decades. And it's that combination, but it doesn't solve all problems. And you really have to dissect the problem. It doesn't mean you can't invent a new way to go after it, and AI can help with that. But there's definitely constraints where AI actually adds value. And I think that's a huge part of the advice we give, is the practical reality of where AI can change something you're doing, especially Gen AI. It's a very different pattern than we've seen before. So yeah, all the time I'm saying that's not an AI problem. Let's just go solve that with automation or just regular technology.
Got you. So not just AI for the sake of it.
That's right.
Makes sense. Okay, are there any case studies that you can share? I'm particularly thinking about maybe like a traditional industry that might be resistant to change, but you've done your work with them and you've implemented one of your programs and it has delivered a tangible ROI.
Yeah, in fact, when the wave first hit, it maybe in the last 18 months or so, one of the interesting things was the regulated industries actually moved faster than the non-regulated. They were out of the gate. I think they saw opportunities. So I think about a major technology company, been around a long time, maybe not a traditional company, but thinking about their adding agents to their omni-channel contact center. So the first wave was, can we deal with customers differently? So adding in both predictive, and intent-driven, so traditional AI with generative AI, and adapting the dialogues with their customer. So, cutting 25% of phone time, cutting transfers by 60%. These are real numbers. Like these are cost savings. So the tech companies went first, and then regulated industries. I think about healthcare, a very regulated, very traditional industry that's helping people. So it's important. There's an example around cancer care and deploying agents into the oncology practices. So lots of unstructured data where Gen AI really has value. So automating the extraction and standardization of that data, driving 50% improved access to insights. So really accelerating the ability to help people at the end, which is the major value, but cutting out a lot of the cost. We could change what staff are doing. So taking 30% of those staff and putting them into more customer proactive roles versus reactive roles, reading documents. So a lot of opportunities there. I think about drug development, clinical research, product development, getting to markets faster, the ability to translate to local languages and local regulatory schemes. That's where Gen AI really excels. So we're seeing opportunities not only be more efficient, but they're revenue opportunities. You're going to be able to get to more customers and help them. And that's a great thing for a traditional industry. Could talk about financial services and having better risk analysis, again, better interaction with the customers, more personalized. Really, every industry, both traditional and the newer ones, are seeing benefits here, and they're not just efficiencies; they're really revenue opportunities.
Okay, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I would assume that within these industries, both traditional and more modern, that there's some level of technology and specifically AI resistance from the workforce. Have you got any strategies that you've found to be effective in bringing people along that journey, changing organisational mindsets, and even addressing fears about things like job displacement?
Yeah, so one of the first parts of the conversation is talking about responsibility in using AI, because you have to make this something that your employees trust. So the initial reaction is fear and uncertainty, and is my job going away? So I think being very open and transparent about how AI is an accelerator to what you're doing. We're doing a job study right now. It's our second year, really looking at the trends that AI has caused on jobs. And what we're finding is it's not taking jobs away necessarily, but it's changing the tasks of those jobs. And that's AI enabling the same job, whether you're an accountant, a doctor, a call center representative. AI is infusing into that role and changing the tasks that you as a human do. And now you're orchestrating AI or agents to do parts of that role with you, which means you can do more as a human. So I think being very communicative around and transparent in the communications about how AI is being infused, that you're approaching it responsibly, that you're training your workforce. And I think creating this culture of curiosity, that you want your workforce to be curious about the technology so that they understand where it actually helps. Back to the earlier conversation, it doesn't solve all problems. It doesn't take away all of your job, but it's going to help you have kind of a superpower in areas. Maybe you can speak another language and communicate to a different culture that you couldn't before. So I think it's really important to be transparent about the strategy around it, and that you're building it based on trust and responsibility, and that it is about accelerating the workforce skills, not taking them away and moving everything to agents. That's just not the world we're seeing. And the data so far in our second year is really supporting that. It's showing higher salaries for AI-enabled workers. It's showing more productivity. It's going through the roof, which is all good for the workforce.
So augment rather than replace would be the message. Okay,
and there's
that
no
makes
doubt
sense.
there's certain jobs that may be replaced, but I think it's a very small. And again, the data supporting this, it's a really very small percentage, and it's creating new jobs that outweigh that percentage, and it's really enhancing the jobs we have.
Okay, makes sense. And we were talking about ROI before, Scott. What measurement frameworks, if any, do you recommend to your clients to track success beyond mere cost reduction?
This is a tough one, and this is probably the number one topic with executives today, because again, they've done the education and experimentation. Now they're enabling and they're expanding their use of AI, and they're trying to measure it. And I think if you're stuck on the efficiency measures, it's really tough to track. Those just kind of get absorbed into the organization. So I say focus on the things that show growth. Focus on customer satisfaction, focus on operational efficiencies, things you're already measuring. When you insert AI, you're able to see the difference. Generation of new revenue streams. I like to see you going to more markets that you didn't hit before, because Gen AI is expanding your ability to reach into different languages and cultures. But I think it has to be based on really the revenue product, the market side, not the efficiency side. I haven't seen a single like standard framework come out. I think it's really kind of per business. We have to look at what you're already tracking, where we have good data to track against. And we've implemented this for ourselves. We track all sorts of metrics and we change them. I think as the technology is changing, we have to adapt those metrics. But for me, it's about that new business model and measuring the strategic goals that you have. Are you differentiating? Are you scaling? Are you creating new capabilities for your people? Those are things you should be measuring. The efficiencies you should track, but again, hard to capture in hard bottom line, return on investment.
Okay. Sounds good. Let me move to my absolute favourite topic within AI, and it is so fascinating to me: humanoid robots. With the sort of rise of humanoid robots worldwide, in things like manufacturing and customer service settings, we've all seen them beavering away in BMW plants and stuff like that.
Sure.
What timeline do you think enterprise leaders should realistically consider for humanoid robot adoption, and what infrastructure changes do you think they need to prepare for?
Yeah, I love this topic too. I think it's amazing. 2 years ago, the same question I would have answered drastically differently, because I think in the last 2 years, the concept of embodied AI, so bringing AI into the physical world, has really accelerated. And as you mentioned, we're starting to see many more bipedal robots, so walking upright like humans. And because the innovation in kind of the Gen AI realm has caused just massive investment, I think we're seeing an acceleration. We may still be, some say 5 to 10 years. I'm probably more on the 5 year. We're starting to see real production implementations of robotics with embodied AI. I think the legacy infrastructure around it is going to be the challenge. So factories today are built with very different types of robots and manufacturing optimization. They're very step by step, and these new robots don't need the steps. They can learn from humans, they can adapt, they can reason and learn on their own. So I think the infrastructure around it has to change. So the physical infrastructure. I think the things we can do today is focus on where good old AI still helps us: the optimization of the processes, the simulation of a physical environment and changes you want to make. So what would a robot look like in this world? Let's simulate that, and we can do that with AI today. So I think kind of combining things we know how to do well, simulation modeling and optimization, with restructuring the physical world to be more welcoming to these embodied AI robots. But it's still a longer journey. There's a lot to figure out there, but I love the acceleration we're seeing in the robotics world. We're seeing it in space. We're seeing it in these areas that we really didn't track before from an enterprise perspective. And now we're all in. There's a lot of innovation happening there. So probably still 5 years out, but I'm hopeful we'll start to see more of these in the real world around us. There's just huge value in that.
You can see the potential, can't you, when these tech vendors come out with their latest demonstration videos and they're passing things to each other and they know where to place them. It's really something.
Scratch past the marketing. There's something really happening there that's
exactly.
pretty exciting. Yeah,
exactly. You could envision them in the home, couldn't you? Not just enterprise settings.
Absolutely.
Definitely one to watch. Okay. Really interesting. How does your business, your organisation, PwC, position itself and see itself within the AI ecosystem? Do you have any unique perspectives that you bring to AI implementation projects, and what makes it different from your competitors, like the other big four firms, for example?
Yeah, we all think we're the snowflake. I think we've really positioned this as a business transformation-led technology. So we're not just leading with AI as the latest thing. It's the best technology. It's different. We're really focusing on the areas of business we can reinvent with specifically AI tools, and bringing that holistic view, starting with trust and responsibility. The core of our DNA is building trust with businesses. Bringing the right technology and bridging that into where we're going to change the business model. It's not just about making it more efficient, doing the steps faster, automating a piece that we already know how to do. It's about those new business models. So new business strategies with responsible standards, adhering to regulatory frameworks, which is obviously a challenge. And for us, as I think back over the last year, this is what actually spawned what we launched a few weeks ago called Agent OS, where we were seeing this explosion of the term agent. Everyone's building an agent for everything. There's lots of agent frameworks out there, but the reality was there was no simple way to actually bring this to an enterprise. So we had to build this out of necessity, and then we found, hey, this not only works for us, it can help our clients. And building in the responsibility, understanding the models and the accuracy, understanding how agents talk together in a responsible way, infusing all of these trusted factors so that our clients don't have to worry about that. They can start with a trusted platform and build those agents that could truly transform their business. So I think it's that balance of innovation with responsibility that we always bring. We never do one without the other, but we can still go fast. We're still staying at the leading edge, and we're infusing that with that responsible mindset that we've had at PwC for many, many years.
Mm-hmm. Moving with the times, then, it seems.
Trying to, yeah.
Absolutely.
As fast as we can.
Okay. Sounds good. And then my very last question for you, Scott. It's been great to have you on, so I just thought I'd dig into the man a little bit more and find out outside of your work, what personal interests or passions do you pursue, and how do they influence your approach to, innovation and tech leadership?
So I love this. You've opened the Pandora's box. Ironically, as the chief AI engineer, and I lead our emerging technologies research development. I live and breathe, the most cutting edge technologies. I actually live on a ranch in Texas, surrounded by nature. I have amazing sets of animals, from horses to cows to emus and alpacas and chickens and goats. And I'll tell you, for the past 8 years, what it's taught me, like learning from nature has taught me something that we as humans are trying to rapidly accelerate. And I look at nature and it continues to just move along at this pace, and it changes and it solves all problems on its own. So I try and balance that in how I bring pragmatic solutions. I want to be cutting edge, but for an enterprise, there's all these constraints that you can't ignore. So I've tried to balance learning from nature and tending to animals and understanding how to care and feed for them, rescuing them and bringing them back to their best lives, bringing that into how I actually think about technology architecture. I know it sounds bizarre, but I've learned so much, and it's almost calmed me so that I can see through all that noise and I can see the future of those advanced embodied AI robots and not worry about all of the noise around it and just march towards that endpoint. So I think it's a perfect balance. Chainsaws and fencing on the weekends, and AI and emerging tech during the week. It's been amazing for me.
I love that. I love that balance. Tech guru in the week, and then farmer/animal rescue.
Chainsaw on the weekend. Yeah.
It's not what I expected you to say, but I love that you did. That's really cool.
Excellent.
Great. Scott, that's all the questions I wanted to ask you today. It's been absolutely fascinating, and I really do appreciate your time. I'd just like to say thank you once again, and to our viewers, please do follow the discussion on our social channels, LinkedIn and Reddit. Take care, Scott, and all the best.
Thanks so much.